Hello and welcome. Yet another sleepless night and yet another honest concept ship review, and this time we're gonna talk about the Polaris. So I'm just gonna try not to fall asleep during this video, but let me roll the intro and let's talk about the RSI Polaris.
Hello, my name is Grumpy.
The RSI Polaris was announced all the way back in 2016, and in the original video it was said that it is a capital class corvette, but compared to the other capital ships that are currently in the game or that were announced, it is on the smallish side, but don't get confused by its size, it will be a force to be reckoned with. But let's go over the specifications first. The Polaris has 2 medium computers, 1 capital-sized radar system, 2 large coolers, a single capital power plant, 3 large shields, 3 large fuel intakes, 2 medium fuel tanks, a large jump module, a large quantum drive and a large quantum fuel tank. Although, most of these specs are probably going to change when CAG starts working on it. Additionally, it has 7 turrets, 6 of which have 2 size 4 weapons on them and a manned turret that has 2 size 5 guns on it. It does not have any pilot-controlled weapons, but what it does have is a ton of missiles and torpedoes. With 32 size 3 missiles and 28 size 10 torpedoes, it packs a serious punch. And if the missiles actually work once this ship gets released, it will be a serious threat to all of the sub-capital and capital-sized ships. On top of all of that, it has an extra small landing bay, which can hold ships up to the size of a Sabre, and a rover bay which doubles as a cargo bay, and it can hold up to 216 SUs of cargo. But don't be fooled by the small cargo capacity. CAG has stated a few times now that you can store cargo wherever you want to on the ship. Therefore, you will be able to fill the landing bay or the interior corridors with a lot more. But that will mean that the cargo itself is not going to be secured in place. Although this shouldn't concern you at all, because if you're taking this ship out for a spin, that only means that you're ready for war and not for cargo hauling. Now, on top of all of that, on the inside of the ship you have a medical bay, a crew quarters, captain's quarters, armory, a brig, a secondary quarters for the fighter pilot or the second in command, and of course there's a mess hall. Now, when you heard that the Polaris only has 3 large shields instead of a capital-sized shield, you were probably confused as I was, solely because in the current state of the game we have the Redeemer that is 1/8 of the size of the Polaris and it has the same shields as the Polaris. First thing that you need to know is that everything is subject to change, and the Polaris will most certainly get a shield buff, and it will probably get a single capital-sized shield. The second thing that you need to know is the main purpose of this ship. It is not designed to be in a sustained fight like the Idris or the Javelin. On the contrary, compared to the Idris and the Javelin, the Polaris is designed to be fast and nimble, and to deliver its payload quickly and effectively without taking much damage. On the other hand, those size 10 torpedoes will have an extended range compared to the ones that we have in the game currently, because the biggest torpedoes that we currently have in the game are size 9 torpedoes, and those have a maximum range of 50 kilometers. Although that range is the least effective range for the size 9 torpedoes, and the maximum range of engagement with the size 9s would be around like 3 kilometers. But I would assume that this range is going to be extended once we step up to the size 10 torpedoes, and that you will be able to effectively hit your target within the ranges of 5 to 10 kilometers. But those size 10 torpedoes will be much slower than the size 9s. So if you're using them against anything smaller than the Idris, you will need to get closer. Speaking of the torpedoes or the Polaris's main armament, let's talk about how they are supposed to work. There is a torpedo launch bay room in which all of the torpedoes are stored. CAG has mentioned a couple of times times now that with the capital-sized ships you will need to have more than a skeleton crew to man them. So what that means is that you should never go into a fight without a weapons officer and at least a few people crewing the torpedo launch room. From what I understand, without them you will not be able to arm the next torpedoes, because they will be the ones that are preparing the launch tubes and sticking those size 10 torpedoes inside of them. Of course, you will be able to hire an AI crew, but they will never be as good as real people will. But also they will never troll you, so I guess that's a huge plus for all of you lone wolves. Now let's talk about the onboard weapons. As I've said previously, the Polaris has 6 turrets with 2 size 4 guns on them each, and one of those turrets is remotely controlled. The rest of them are manned turrets. Given the high velocity of size 4 repeaters, those turrets will be mostly effective against small fighters, and their main purpose will be to protect the Polaris from a swarm of small to medium fighters if the enemy scrambles them. Additionally, it has a single turret with 2 size 5 guns on it, and it's basically a turret from a Redeemer. Those repeaters will have a lower velocity, and that turret will be effective as a support turret if a bigger ship gets close to you. But don't think for a second that this ship will survive a prolonged fight. Even if it gets a capital-sized shield, or if it gets a 4th large shield generator, it will be lightly armored. Therefore, once the shields go down, it is basically dead in the water. Now let's take a step back and talk about the interior of this ship again. It is currently unknown what kind of a medical bed the Polaris will have, but my guess is that it will have a tier 2 bed. But as long as we are able to respawn inside of it, I'm gonna be happy with it. But the star of the show is of course going to be the hangar bay, in which you can store a light fighter or anything up to the size of a prospector or a saber. Also, CIG has stated that you will be able to repair and rearm in that hangar bay, but to a degree, of course. It will be the most basic repair system with handheld tools and onboard supplies for sustaining a fighter or a light bomber, such as a Gladiator. So it is not quite as flexible as the Crucible's fully equipped workshop. Also, CIG has stated that the Polaris can hold up to a saber, but since it grew in size since the original concept, I believe that you will be able to store more than a single fighter inside of it. But if it sits, it fits, right? Also, just down the hallway, there will be a brig, which will be a great addition for the bounty hunters, because at some point in the game, you will earn more money for bringing people in alive than for just killing them. And I'm pretty sure that there will be some missions that will penalize you for killing the target. And in the end, we have the cargo bay, which doubles as a rover bay, and you will load it up from the side of the ship via the cargo bay ramp. Now, being a warship, the Polaris will not be good at anything else, because it is not designed to do anything else except to strike fear and send players back to their respawn points. So don't expect it to be a great exploration ship, or for it to excel in anything else than killing whatever it locks its torpedoes on. So if you want to buy this ship, don't think for a second that you will make a lot of money with it. You will not, except if you're into piracy, but I will talk about that later. CIG has stated a bunch of times now that war is not going to be profitable, and that you will mostly lose money maintaining these kinds of ships, which is weird since we currently have some economies that are revolving around war. Strange. Anyway, let's talk about the perfect uses for this ship. I don't see the Polaris as a war-starting ship, but I certainly do see it as a war-ending ship. It will also be an amazing addition to orgs that are into bounty hunting, or even orgs that are offering security services to other orgs. It will be one of those perfect ships for backing up industrial orgs with, because surely the pirates will rethink their life choices when they see the Polaris patrolling around the mining site. But as I've said, it will not be the best choice for prolonged fights. So if you need something that can take a beating and deal a lot of damage to fighters, you should check out the Hammerhead or the Perseus. But speaking of piracy, I believe that this ship is one of the most overlooked ships for piracy. Imagine an Orion or a Rogue with a ton of moles mining somewhere, and you interdict them with the Mantis that you took out of the hangar bay. They will pay whatever it takes immediately. Or even better, speaking of the Orion, I can see the Polaris bringing the shields down on the Orion so you can board the Orion and take it over by force. Also, with the addition of the brig, it will be great for detaining players or even hostages. And in the end, once we get homesteads and player bases on moons and planets, this ship will be the one that you will take out of your hangar to bomb the living hell out of whoever looked at you the wrong way. So in the end, should you buy this ship? It's a no. It is way too expensive. It is in concept for quite some time now. It's not gonna get released anytime soon, but if you really want it and you have disposable income and you want to spend it on this ship, which is $750, yeah, go for it. But you're gonna wait for a while. If you want to support CAG making another game while you're playing Star Citizen and buying ships for Star Citizen, go for it. But you need to know that it's gonna take a while before this ship gets anywhere close to release. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't buy it. I mean, I have it because, yeah, I'm a YouTuber, but you don't need it. And you can buy it in the game. Like, once it gets released, it's gonna be in the game. You will be able to buy it in the game, so why waste your money? Anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel, there's gonna be a link down in the description of the video, and it's a Patreon link, and you can support me through there. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, guys. Thank you again, and don't forget to bring a towel when you're traveling through space, and bye. Don't buy. Don't buy. It's too expensive, but goodbye. Yeah, bye. Fuck.